The reality check can be liberating for many clients because it can help them shed a lot of self-blame and begin to overcome shame. That's because the reality check helps them understand how their minds work. It makes it clear that much of what's going on in our minds is not something that we can control. At the same time, the reality check teaches clients that while they may not be able to control their mind, they can control their actions. And the actions they take can reduce their pain and suffering. This idea plants a seed of hope. In clinical terms, the reality check is simple but very powerful because it sets the stage for depathologizing and reducing the shame caused by self-criticism and blame. Here's how Dr. Gilbert would describe the reality check to one of his clients.
So everything that you are has been built for you. You didn't choose anything. You have 2 arms and 2 legs. Your genes built those. You might be a woman or a man. You didn't choose that. You have a head on top of your shoulders. You didn't choose that. You have a brain. You didn't choose to have one of those. And in that brain, you've got capacities for anger, anxiety, depression, blah, blah, blah. You didn't choose any of that. You didn't choose anything, actually. Your capacities for feeling what you're feeling have all been built for you, not by you. So this is quite a revelation. And the other thing we say to people is, look, if I had been kidnapped as a 3-day-old baby into a violent drug gang, what would I be like today? And we get our clients to look at us and say, so what would I be like? Think about it, really think about it. And they might say, oh, well, you'd probably be quite violent, and you might not, you might be into drugs big time. You might be very wealthy. You might be dead. All those things are possible. There is a totally different version of Paul Gilbert that would have emerged had I grown up in a different environment, right? But I didn't choose that environment. Not only would that, but that environment would turn genes off in my brain. It would do stuff to my oxytocin gene. Because we now know that our genes, the expression of our genes, called epigenetics, can be infected by our environment. So who's the real me then? This one? Or the drug addict? Drug baron Paul Gilbert? The one in tattoos or the one without tattoos, right? Who's the real? There is no real you. That is an illusion. There are versions. We are just versions of patterns of electrochemical activity. What makes you you is this point of consciousness, not content. Content's all been created for you, not by you. Now, the more enlightened you become, the more aware, then you start owning this stuff. Okay, so my job is now not to kind of blame myself for what's going on in my brain. That isn't my fault because it's all been built. I didn't choose any of it, right? If I was on Alpha Centauri, maybe I'd have a totally different set of emotions that, and have different colors and so on. So I didn't choose it. But this is my responsibility, right? My responsibility is to get to know this mind as best as I can and try as best I can to be helpful, not harmful. So I have to not blame myself for my potential to be harmful, but I don't want to act that out in the world. So this distinction between helping people not shame and blame, but take responsibility, because your brain is potentially a very dangerous thing, right? It's like driving a car. Don't just get in a car and drive it. Learn how to drive it. Otherwise, you're a danger on the road. But that's unfortunately true for our minds. If we don't learn about them, we can be a danger, because we can be a danger to ourselves, the way we think, the desire to kill ourselves or drink or cut or criticize, and we can be a danger to others. We lose our temper and we are horrible to people or whatever it is. So these are really important things. Now, what we find is our clients nobody's ever told them that. I mean, the number of times I've had clients said, nobody's told me that. I always just thought there was something bad about me. I always just thought that I was... One client many years ago said, I always thought when God made me, he'd run out of the nice bits. I was always told in my family that I was just the black sheep. I was always told that there's something wrong with me. Now, in my last therapy I went to, I was told I had an emotional disorder, that I'm screwed up, So we said, no, forget about all that stuff. There are these programs in your brain which through no fault of your own are running. If you've grown up in a threatening environment, those are the programs that will run. And what we will help you do is to start to be aware of them, and then how to switch into a compassionate mental state, which will help you with those systems in your brain.
Notice how Paul lays out a map for clients that includes the 3 points that we just discussed. We don't choose how our brains think. We don't choose how and in what context we're born or how we grow up. And we don't design what's happening at the present moment because many of those things are out of our control. May I be helpful, not harmful, is a precept embodied in the reality check because it helps clients recognize that they don't have to allow their minds to take them hostage, nor to govern their actions.